Hello everyone, from the Novedge team, welcome to today's webinar, Working Remotely with Vectorworks, Discovering the Tools for Distributed Design Team. What does the future of work look like with Vectorworks? What is distributed engineering? What is remote test management? And what are the essential tools for distributed design team? These are just some of the questions in today's webinar, and that will be addressed by Jacob Dale, and especially one question that I've been pondering about: what is Project M by Tangably? Well, luckily we don't have to wait longer. And today's webinar presenter, as I said, is Jacob Dale, a founder at Tangably.com. Tangably is a training and consulting resource to professional designers seeking to maximize their use of Vectorworks. Jacob currently leads Vectorworks User Groups in San Francisco, New York City, Santa Monica. Jacob is also a repeat presenter for Novedge and Vectorworks. For more information on Project M, visit Jacob at Tangably.com. And a little bit about Novedge now. Novedge is one of the largest online stores for design software. We offer a huge assortment of software solutions that cater to virtually every designer's needs. So you just need to check us out at Novedge.com. And for more daily software news and limited time promotions, always make sure to visit the Novedge blog or follow us on Facebook, Google+, or Twitter. Coming up in a couple of days, take your design further with the new Creo extensions. Last but not least, today's webinar is free and it's been recorded. And so if you need to rewatch it, just head on over to Novedge's YouTube or Vimeo channels. Now, without further ado, I'm going to let Jacob take over the screen. There you are, Jacob.
Hi, Barbara. Nice to hear from you, and so glad we have so many folks from around the world joining us today.
Yep.
Can you see my main screen?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, we'll go ahead and get started then.
Yep.
So I do appreciate everybody joining us on this Monday. Quite an exciting last couple of weeks we have experienced around the world, and to all those out there that might be affected by recent storms and that kind of thing, we hope that you can get back to home and get back to your office really soon. We feel for you. I am from the Gulf Coast originally, so we got a really close call there, and we're really thinking for all our thinking positive thoughts for all our folks there in Houston and of course Florida and the Caribbean right now. Lots of our clients and fellow Vectorworks users are in those regions, so just keep them in your thoughts, and if they reach out to you for any assistance, please give them the best that you can. Again, my name's Jacob. I am with Tangably. Got started doing this a few years ago. As far as Tangably goes, really helping folks out from coast to coast, and it also, as appears on the webinar today, we got folks around the world that are interested in what we talk about. I get really excited about this stuff. I've been using Vectorworks since, let's say, approximately 20 years ago. It's been quite a journey and quite a progression of technology, and that's what we're going to talk about today. This is a pretty informal webinar. I know in the past we've really gotten into the nitty-gritty of the tools and under the hood of Vectorworks. I'm going to take a step back from that today because I know we've got some releases coming really soon at the Vectorworks Design Summit. I know that Barbara is going to be there with Novedge, so I look forward to seeing her there. I also look forward to seeing any of you there at the Design Summit if you're going to make it, so I look forward to that. So a lot of new releases coming in 2018, but what we want to talk about is a little bit more of the contemporary work environment. Let's see if I can change slides here without, there we go. All right. So, some serious consequences of Mother Nature of recent we have experienced for sure. And the truth is that it is a huge interruption in our progress on a day-to-day basis. Not only are folks displaced from their homes, having to take time to seek refuge from storms, but your work, your progress, your clients' expectations are put on hold Reasonably, we would understand that, in these circumstances, we have to take time for more important matters. But every office needs a contingency plan. Every studio needs a contingency plan. If you're a solo designer out there over the road, then you still need to stay in contact with your clients in some way, somehow. So we're going to discuss a little bit more about how do we do this with modern technology. When I got started in this in the entertainment industry, it was about 20 years ago, and I was doing concert staging. And if any of y'all are entertainment designers, you probably know what these 3 letters stand for. That is on the road or over the road. So being on the road 100% of the time kept me away from, well, this was about the only way that I could stay connected to the office at the time. Some of y'all might remember these fondly, the BlackBerry, back before the touch screen. I don't think even our 3-year-olds would pick one of these up today and assume that they could do anything interactively. But this was the technology at the time. And this is what I yearned to get back to at the office. Classic iMac. Yes, Vectorworks ran on one of these at one time. It was a color screen, and it was top of the line technology within reason. This was the way that we got work done. A lot of things have changed up until today. If you're looking at the computer you are watching this webinar on today, I applaud you if it is a iMac Classic, as you see here. But likely it's something much more robust with a lot more memory and a lot more capability. So what is working remote? Also referred to as distributed engineering. There was just an inkling of that concept back 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. Folks are writing books prophetically about how the nature of work was going to change, how we were going to be traveling more often, how we're going to be potentially working and traveling, a lot of concepts of work-life balance. We're not going to get really too deep into those concepts. Obviously, that is a very popular thing in today's media. But one interesting thing that happened to us, for us folks that use Vectorworks, actually just emerged a couple years ago, and that was in Vectorworks 2016. When they updated 2016, we got a new feature called project sharing. So if you are a daily user or even a weekly user of Vectorworks Spotlight software, Landmark, Architect, you're probably familiar with this concept of project sharing. Maybe you and your design team haven't necessarily scratched the surface on this just yet, because yes, it does seem a bit intimidating at first to know that you'll be sharing one central file with many different users across your design team. Again, we're going to just kind of take a bird's eye view of the concept. We're not going to get under the hood of project sharing, but if you are interested, there are a multitude of videos on the Vectorworks website. I know we've talked about it on previous webinars, and also you can find plenty of information on YouTube regarding how to get at least started with project sharing. So Vectorworks, we are looking forward to more updates in project sharing. I know that in 2017, they updated to Project Sharing 2.0, and what that allowed Vectorworks users to do was, originally in 2016, we had the capability of checking out individual design layers to work on. Each member of the design team would, for example, take a design layer, they could contribute their work, and then put it back into the stack, so to speak, so that folks could work collaboratively. But it was divided by design layer. Well, now in 2017, Project Sharing 2.0 allows us the ability to actually work on individual objects within the same design layer. So you could have multiple folks on your team working on those. Here's a simple graphic that Vectorworks put out back in 2017 to demonstrate that. So if you have a floor plan, or if you have a more of an entertainment design like this, if you're working on staging, for example, you could have one designer or one group working on the acoustics, and the next one working on lighting, and the next one working on staging, and maybe even crowd control as well. And all contributing to a central design model, whether you're working on the same design team or a distributed team. Now, what does it look like within Vectorworks if you haven't taken a chance to share a project with your team or your fellow designers? Here is an example screenshot of a project in Vectorworks 2017. And you'd simply just go up to your file menu when you have your project open, and you'd go to the project sharing selection there underneath the file menu. Now, something to keep in mind is when you turn this into a shared project, you want this file to be on a server or in the cloud, and we'll talk a little bit about the cloud solutions here in a second. But that file needs to be where it's going to be accessible by the whole team. So just keep that in mind. And when you click on that project sharing link there, it will come up with this dialog box to help walk you through the steps of setting up your project sharing for your team. And there are some options here that you can go through, setting different administrator user levels and setting up your backup policy, etc. But if you just wanted to scratch the surface and take a look at it on your local server or even on Dropbox, for example, with your team, you could just take the shortcut here and just finish the project sharing setup. What that will create is a project sharing file in your shared cloud or server space. So on the cloud, what does it mean to be putting your files on the cloud now? I know traditionally we had local servers within our offices, and a lot of you folks may already be backing up a lot of your information on the cloud, whether it be just photos from your handheld computer and camera, or even backing up your whole laptop, or actually some folks, I know we were talking about this on the Vectorworks community board this morning, some folks have been backing up their whole server to the cloud for quite a few years. So varying degrees of interest and investment in putting things on the cloud. And what we'll talk about is some of the options that at least Vectorworks outlines that will work with project sharing. So some of these you may recognize, some of these you may not. But yeah, Dropbox, Google Drive are two of the main ones, OneDrive and Box being others supported by Vectorworks. Now, what we've worked with for the most part at Tangably is Dropbox. We have had some limited success with Google Drive, have not spent a lot of time working with OneDrive and Box, to be honest, but Dropbox we have been using since the project sharing capabilities on the cloud were announced in 2016. We've been using Dropbox with great success. Now, what does it mean to use Dropbox as a cloud-based storage solution? Is that you have the ability to back up some of your files into the cloud, but then they also sync locally. What does that mean? It means that you could sync locally a file that is shared in the cloud with your whole team, but that also means that it's synced locally with on the other folks' computers that are on that team as well. So it effectively distributes a mirror image of a file across all of the local drives of your team, but also syncs those up to the cloud. So when you're using project sharing, you have the ability to access that same central project file in order to manipulate as a team. So when you have Dropbox installed, here's a little bit more insight into that. So this is, for example, on a Mac operating system, but you'll see the little box icon for Dropbox. And then that little program there will actually tell you whether your files are up to date. It will notify you if anybody's made a comment on a file. So it's a good way to keep in touch on a basic level. And we'll talk more about keeping in touch here in a second. But you'll notice where that little orange arrow is down toward the bottom. This is really important when you are working on, let's say, a distributed team, because in some circumstances, you may not have the bandwidth, or you may have, let's say, for example, expensive data that you're paying for, like if you have a hotspot or something like that, you're paying by the gigabyte. You might actually want to pause your file syncing while you're out away from the office or away from the server if you're concerned about your data limits. So Dropbox does have a built-in feature where you can pause syncing, and I'm sure that there's those type of capabilities on the other cloud storage solutions as well. So that's a little bit of an insight of just kind of what it looks like on the desktop. So one of the concepts that's been talked about a lot with project sharing, especially in Vectorworks, is that when you're on a design team, you need to really stay in touch with based on the intentions of what you're doing with the design, what you're doing with the model, if you're going to be submitting updates, that type of thing. So it's really important to consider ways that you're going to keep in touch with your team. Obviously, the gold standard right now is email. I know a lot of folks get more email than they'd really care for. So there is an ever-expanding universe of options now to stay in touch. I know personally, most mornings when I try to, let's say, get the recent word over a cup of coffee in the morning, there's likely 10 or 15 different apps or locations where I can get notifications and messages. You may have noticed this as well. All of your social networks have the ability to message folks directly. So we've got to check a lot of inboxes. So one thing to consider when you're getting your whole team on board is maybe considering something that's a little bit more specific to a team workflow. One of those examples you would see on the screen here is Slack. So yes, you could keep in touch with your team on Facebook using just a direct message. That's one way to at least get somebody's attention. Maybe a little bit too much going on Facebook to use that as your main portal to communicate with your team. And we are discussing just alternate options to keeping in touch by email. So another is Google Hangouts. So if you run your office with let's say a Gmail address or something on Google servers as far as your email hosting goes, all of that team is going to have instant access to Google Hangouts. And not only do you have direct messaging there, but you also have the ability to do some video calls. So sometimes it's perhaps a little bit easier, especially in a design scenario, to just pull up a video chat, maybe confirm some sketches, screen to screen, and then get back to your workflow. Slack is a little bit more, like I said, a little bit more geared toward like full team communication. I think it's worth checking out when you have a team environment of more than 5 or 6 folks. And then Skype is kind of the classic way, very similar to Google Hangouts, of doing a video call with either folks on your team or also clients of yours. So staying connected, that's really important when you're on the road, whether you're traveling domestically, whether you're traveling even within the same town. Maybe you're going to a work site, maybe you're going to an event site. You need to stay in touch. Maybe you have your laptop with you with Vectorworks loaded on it, and you need to send updates to your clients or other folks that are on your team. You want to be able to be connected wherever you go. This is a really cool project. Now this is called Project Phi, and I just became aware of this a few months ago. It is a project by Google that basically will take the, you have the ability to get a SIM card, place it in either a Google phone or a hotspot, for example. So if you have a Wi-Fi hotspot, you can get a little SIM card from Google Project Phi. And they have really, let's say, relatively reasonable data plans. I think you get a gigabyte of data for $10 a month. I know there are more competitive plans out there. But the real value with Project Phi is that they promise that you're going to get more connectivity with this plan than any others. The other value is that your data rolls over every month. So if you bought, let's say a gigabyte to 10 gigabytes of data this month, and you only used a fraction of that, well, next month you're going to have that in the coffer, so you can dip back into that, and it'll just accumulate over time. If, let's say, for example, you do take some vacation time, so that's not so bad. So Project Phi, pretty affordable. What's really cool about it is it will work in, let's see, how many, 135 countries and territories around the world right now. So this is an amazing solution for some of you folks that are international travelers. I know some of you lighting designers and set designers get on a plane to the other side of the world pretty often, and I do a lot of traveling myself, so be doing some international traveling really soon, and I'm going to try this out. I'm going to grab a Project Phi subscription, and then hopefully on the upcoming webinar we have in November, right around the time of LDI, we can talk about how this worked out for me internationally. And if any of you folks have some feedback on this, please leave some comments related to that in the webinar. So I'm pressing the wrong buttons there. There we go. So I know we're going through this pretty briefly, but I really want to know, am I going to be able to see any of you folks at the Design Summit coming up in Baltimore? Vectorworks Design Summit is a lot of fun. We get together with other Vectorworks users. We talk to folks in the entertainment, landscape, and architecture, design industries, and we get under the hood. We can talk shop. We get to do some networking. It's going to be a lot of fun. I was there last year in Chicago, and it's gonna. I think it's worth the trip. So hopefully we get to see some of you folks at the Design Summit coming up soon. But how about the user groups? So if you're not going to make it out to the Design Summit, or even if you are at the Design Summit, you may consider staying in touch with the community of folks that use Vectorworks more on a consistent basis. Now, I know traditionally Vectorworks user groups did meet in person in a lot of cities, and we still do that in a lot of cities across the United States, and I know there's some international groups as well. But more and more, like work is going, the user groups and the meetings are headed online as well. In addition to the great Vectorworks community board, the Tangably network has been in existence for just about a year now, ever since the last Design Summit. And if you go to tangably.com, you go click on the network link on our header there on our webpage. At the network, you will see that we've got quite a few folks having pretty consistent discussions about how they use Vectorworks, what's going on in the industry, certain tips, keeping in touch about training options and meetups. There's even the ability to list different job postings on there if you're looking for folks to, let's say, help you out either in your office or remotely. And also maybe if you're looking for a new gig or looking to head in a new direction with your Vectorworks skills, that's a fun place to go. It's a pretty intimate group of some high-level users, but beginners are welcome to register as well, and we're always happy to get y'all started in the Vectorworks crew. So what is more than what we've already done? How far have we come in working remotely? Now, we are working on a new project, and we asked before this webinar, what is Project M? That is a teaser. We will have to keep you in suspense just a little bit longer. We are planning some information, and this is related to working remotely, using project sharing with Vectorworks, being a designer, and being where the work is, and that's in the cloud. Now, we've got solutions coming forward really soon. Unfortunately, we can't say much more about it today, but if you do want to stay in touch and you want to be one of the first to know about it, maybe we'll see each other at the Vectorworks Design Summit. I'd be happy to chat with you about some of the things we've been working on. Otherwise, please visit tangably.com/Project M and subscribe. And we will not spam mail you. We just keep you updated when new information comes. So, is it time to cancel that commute? Maybe not for some, but I know that some folks have more other priorities other than spending a couple hours a day, let's say getting on a train or being stuck in traffic. The future of work is becoming more flexible. You have much more better things to do with your time potentially than spending your time getting back and forth to physical geographic places. I recognize that in some circumstances, there's a lot of value to being there in person to meet with a client or to meet with your design team. But I think that the future of work that we're seeing is more flexibility. These tools are really reaching maturity, and there's always innovation that we discover every week. A lot of tech companies are working on the next level of what working remotely is. And like we started off saying, sometimes life can get challenging, Mother Nature gets challenging, and your office or your studio might need a contingency plan. So try it out today, try it out this weekend, get together with your design team and discuss the potential of at least having that contingency, knowing how the workflow works on cloud storage, knowing how it works with Vectorworks project sharing, so that when life does throw you a curveball, everything can stay operational. So I do appreciate being able to take a little bit of your time today to just at least pique your interest in the ability of getting work done regardless of your physical place and geography. And I do look forward to sharing a lot more information with y'all in November and on that upcoming webinar here at Novedge. So Barbara, I know we discussed today was going to be a little more brief than usual, but I hope that maybe we have some inquiries or some questions I'd be happy to answer at this point.
No, there's no questions, but anyway, I'm happy to find out that a few of our attendees today will be in Baltimore next week, so this is very exciting to meet all of you. Yes, I will be wearing green shoes. Novedge green. Novedge green.
Okay.
And no, I just wanted to, I really like what you said about having a contingency plan. So that's something to keep in mind. And Project M keeps getting more and more intriguing. So we will have to find you on at the Design Summit and really, question you thoroughly. We're very intrigued.
Well, maybe we'll have a little bit more information to share at that time. But yes, winter 2018, well, 2017, 2018 is shaping up to be a pretty exciting time.
Cool.
So definitely looking forward to the updates on 2018 as well. I know Vectorworks has some surprises up their sleeves, so we're looking forward to that.
By the way, while we were chatting, a question came in from Lee Calisti, and he asked, have you published a screen-by-screen to-do list for setting up project sharing, or is there a YouTube video for it?
Hey, Lee, good to hear from you. The reality is there's actually a few YouTube videos up there right now. I know our friend Jonathan Pickup has done some information on that here on Novedge, I believe.
Yes, and we have a webinar about project sharing, so it should be easy to find it on the Novedge YouTube channel, or I'll send you the link lately.
Yep.
Great.
And then if you have any specific questions about it, I'm always happy to answer. I've done a handful of presentations at different user groups related to project sharing as well. So if you want to get further under the hood, feel free to reach out to me.
That is fantastic. Thank you for your availability. And I'll take the screen back and prepare to say goodbye to everybody, and thanking everybody for joining us today, and reminding you to visit our webpage at novedge.com, where you can find the entire list of Vectorworks products. Also, visit Jacob at Tangably.com. Our next webinar in a couple of days will be on Creo and its extensions. And to rewatch today's webinar, just go on the Novedge YouTube channel or Vimeo. And we have webinars past going back 4 years, so enjoy. They're never, you can never be bored on the Novedge YouTube channel. Thanks again, Jacob, for today's presentation, and looking forward to meet you and some of our attendees on Monday next week.
Thank you, Barbara. See you in Baltimore.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.